Hi, this is Majinoni, and here's the final week of the number twos for the relaunch. I'm not going to do all of the books, but I'm going to still do a fairly large number of them. Overall, this is what I've discovered so far. Week one, I'm like excited. I'm like, wow, I want to read. When I get to week four, I'm like, do I have to read? And that's kind of sad when you go from that kind of a high to a low. But on the plus side, I really want to read the next number threes now. Okay, I'm not really going to talk about this issue that much, but I will say what I do like about this is how you have the beginnings of the Clark and Lois relationship. I remember reading Superman when they weren't married and things like that, and it had an interesting dynamic, in the sense of will they get together, won't they get together type thing. And in this case, I like that reset. But I know that there's a lot of people who are probably against it. They think Superman and Lois are being meant to be together forever. And, you're right. They're going to get together eventually, so it's just kind of like you just stick around for the ride. But that's all I really have to say about this one. Justice League Dark, I don't think this is as strong as the first issue was for me. I still like it a lot. One thing that I found I enjoyed was I actually got to see Dove drawn well, in comparison to what she looks like in the Hawk and Dove series. And this issue here is pretty much the building of a team, where they show here's all the different characters and stuff. So it's in the building phase of the story, but it didn't start with. It's not continuing the WoW. I still like it though, but my enthusiasm did drop a little bit. Aquaman, I don't know. I think it's interesting, but I don't think it's as strong as the first issue was again. And by that I don't mean that it's. It's one of these things. I don't think it's not necessarily Jeff's fault, because again, you're building up a storyline, and if you're looking for action, this one you have it. And so the action sequences are pretty cool, as you can see. There's some blood, there's some action going on, but it's that sense of wonder of what's coming around the corner. That's gone now, and I think that's why I like the first issue more than the second. They still continue with the "What are you talking about? Why did you bring Aquaman?" type jokes, which is all right, but I have a feeling that's going to get old fairly quickly. So far, this will still stay on my pull list. Savage Hawkman is going to be quickly dropping off my pull list. It's utter nonsense to me. I thought that the first issue, for whatever reason, it clicked with me. The second issue here, it's just not. This was really painful to read, and this is going to be a drop. The Teen Titans, I don't know. Again, this is another building of a team, and I don't mind building of a team, but I wish they would. I want to get to actual team and then fight. I want to get to that fight soon, so I'm hoping that something changes that. But at the same time, I do like this is where I'm torn, because I like the building part. I like establishing characters, I like establishing motivations, and then at the same time, I want battle. And Superboy is definitely going to be an X factor in the story. So I'm really curious to see where that's going to play out, I should say. So it's staying on my list, but I don't know how long it's going to stay on my list. Horrible. That's about what I can say about this. This is just another turn. It's just turning out to be a horrible read. I don't know. I think, I think in order to make for me to want to read Firestorm, you need to completely rework everything from the ground up. Everything. Now, I still like the idea of the superpowered, bigger version of Firestorm that we see here, but at the same time, I'm just like, I really want the classic Ronnie Firestorm back. Um, Ronnie wasn't the strongest character as it is, but he was still a lot more entertaining than this. And at least he's not fighting nonstop like these two guys are. Vampire, I don't know. I mean, there's something about this that just appeals to me. I love the dark artwork. I love the violence. But to me, it almost seems like time hasn't moved from the first issue. And that's a problem for me. Especially when you have so many books that are out, competing for my attention. I will probably still get, obviously I'm getting 3, but it's still on my list for 4. We'll see what happens with 3, if it does stay. This is probably the shining moment of week 4. Jonah Hex. This book is great. For an example, I love the art. I have a love-hate with. I don't like the art, but at the same time, I think the art just fits perfectly. And there's moments where I go, like, for an example, I love this 2-page spread. I love it. And I think, oh my gosh, could you imagine what this would look like with somebody else? And then at the same time, I'm going, no, it shouldn't be, because this has a very unique feel, very unique look, and it should stay that way. I love this 2-page spread. Then you get this battle sequence. I love this battle sequence. It's just like, there's so much going on. And it was just, I just liked it a lot. Then, unlike other books, this book is advancing the story quite rapidly, and I'm enjoying what I'm reading. This is a guilty pleasure, and this is definitely going on my keep list so far. The New Guardians. This, to me, is a joke. This is I'm waiting for like MTV to come out and say I'm punked or something like that for reading this, because to me, this seems like this is a rejected storyline from the War of the Lanterns. Because if you remember, in the War of the Lanterns series, you had, was it Kyle? Or we had Guy and, John, and I forget what it was. Yeah, well, I think it was Kyle. And then they had the rings, right? And remember, they all put the rings, they all had multiple rings on, and they were all joining together, and it was like 2-2-2-2. And then remember, they blew up Planet Mondo, right? Okay, remember that part. And I'm like, okay, that was a very interesting concept. That you're able to use both the rings, you get some cool effects with it, how the powers played against each other type thing. Or not really played against each other, but how the powers worked with each other. And when I read this, granted I should have suspected this, but you have to understand, I was in overload. With reading 52 books, plus my regular books, manga, I was overloaded. So obviously, the rings go to Kyle, and they're like, they're just waiting to go on. But because they didn't go on his finger, I was just like, well, I wonder what's going to happen. Derp. Well, of course, what happens is, you get the page here where they finally go, you have been chosen, and then all of the rings go on his face. He looks terrified because, why would you want all the powers of the universe on your hand? And then he turns into this being, which is kind of similar, but not yet similar to what happened in the War of the Lanterns. So to me, this story, even to illustrate my point one step further, if you remember during the War of the Lanterns storyline, the Guardians were acting kooky, they were being controlled, and they wanted, each one of these rings was, the construct people, or creatures were, basically the Guardians. And what are the Guardians acting? They're acting like they don't normally act. I mean, granted, they act like they're dicks, and they act like they're dicks. But this panel here, where they're like, enough, seize the rings, and let the interrogation begin, and blah, 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 blah. And then they lobotomized, what's his name? That stupid Lantern Guardian guy who's friendly with Kyle, you know, and I'm like going, this is just like War of the Lanterns, and I swear to God, it makes me feel like this is a rejected story that they decided at the last minute, we don't want to go in this direction, we want to go that direction. And this creative team had no clue on how to do the New Guardians. Because after all, you know, it's not like you can create a wonderful story with different lanterns in the universe fighting evil or anything like that. You just couldn't do that. Considering it's already being done in Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps. So what you do is you go to some rejected script pile, modify things a little bit, and spew out this nonsense. This isn't a new concept anymore. I don't know about you guys, but this says the new 52. It doesn't say the rehash of 52. New 52. This is a rehash story that just recently happened. I swear to God, if I could cancel this book from even appearing in my doorstep, I would do it. I am not reading 3. I'm not. I am just going to throw it in a pile. This isn't worth my time. This isn't worth my effort. It's not even, technically it's not even worth my space. So I might even just give it to somebody as a punishment. Make them read it. Because it's horrible. It's a horrible book. And the Green Lanterns are supposed to be a flagship title in the DC Universe. And to see a book like this is a disgrace. I can't help but think, why did you even need to put out the New Guardians when you could have done Power Girl? Why did you put out the New Guardians when you could have done a Red Robin story? You know, a comic. You know, why couldn't you have just created a brand new character? How about Ambush Bug? You know, how about Lobo? How about, oh shit, I don't know, JSA. Even though I know JSA is going to be somewhat thrown in later. You know, why couldn't you have done any of these other characters? Why the hell, Detective Chimp even? You know, why did you have to give me a third Green Lantern book with a recycled storyline that was probably rejected? And this is an insult. This is I paid money for this book. Every DC fan who bought this book should feel ripped off, and they should immediately throw this book in the trash, and they should never buy the New Guardians ever again until DC signs a pledge in blood that says we will never do something stupid like this again, and we will only make this title the best it possibly could be. Because right now, we wasted paper and ink to make this book. Anyways, that's my take on this little small stack. If you have any comments or questions, let me know. Rate the video up, break it down, let me know what you think. Thoroughly disgusted, as you can tell. I've read some bad books this week. I'm in a bad mood. But I will say, the Sinestro Batman costume looks awesome in Batman Arkham City. Anyways, until next time.